Thank you so much for joining us on the Dwelling Show. I'm your host, Ola Dantes. I've got Scott, the incredible Scott Boy with us today. Hey, Scott, how's it going?
Man, I'm doing so well, doing really well. Thank you for asking. How are you?
Doing fantastic. I'm so glad we could make this happen. Coming towards the end of the year, everything is going on. So cannot wait to hear your story. You have an exciting story. So let's kind of jump right into it. I mean, obviously I can talk or read a profile about you, but I'm sure you can do a way better job than I can. Can you just tell us a little bit more about, who you are, Scott, and kind of
Yeah,
what you've been up to lately?
absolutely. Yeah, we'll try to keep it short and sweet. I'm from the state of Iowa. I'm out here in sunny Phoenix, Arizona. I own a real estate holding company called HPSP Holdings. We primarily focus on acquisitions of single family residences that we either fix and flip, wholesale, or keep in a rental portfolio now. I've done everything from apartment syndications, fix and flips, obviously wholesales. I have a rental portfolio today, raised some private capital, and just trying to conquer the world, man. That's really what we're trying to do here.
Yeah, I can relate somewhat. Yeah, but also, I mean, you have a fascinating story, right? And I kind of want us to touch on that. You've got a little scar. If anyone's watching this, or probably most people are listening on iTunes, so when you stop driving, you should go check out the video on YouTube. Can you tell us a little bit more about that story, Scott?
Yeah, absolutely. That's really where it all kind of starts. So this scar is actually from a tracheotomy that I had when I was 16 years old. I used to race dirt bikes growing up. I'm from the state of Iowa. Love motorsports and anything that goes fast and is dangerous, right? Especially as a teenage guy, that's about the best it can get. So racing dirt bikes, riding dirt bikes was my life growing up. I loved it. Loved it. Did it every day, all the time. Any chance I had it, I could. I was on that thing. And anyways, I was out 16 years old. It was the week of finals for my sophomore year of high school, and just it was an off weekend, wasn't a race weekend, just an off weekend. I was out with my friends at a track we rode at all the time, and something happened. Ended up getting to an accident. Hit my head, had a brain injury. Of course, I had fully clothed, I had a helmet on, had all the gear on, but hit really, really hard and had to be life flighted from the track to Des Moines, Iowa, where I'm from. And there they put me into a medically induced coma where I stayed for 10 days. They did that to avoid brain swelling in any sort of brain injury situation. If you have brain swelling, a lot of times they have to go in and open up to relieve that pressure. And thankfully, they didn't have to do that because it typically would cause additional brain damage. So was in a coma 10 days, spent 32 days in the hospital, 3.5 weeks of outpatient therapy, and had a traumatic brain injury. Super grateful and blessed today that I have zero repercussions. Matter of fact, that happened my sophomore year of high school, like I said, finals week, and I went on to recover over the summertime and was able to finish high school on time. And even better, I started my first company the year after my accident. It was a car detailing company based out of Iowa. And, it really just took off from there. Ended up meeting my first coach and mentor because I started my first company, and he allowed me the opportunity to come work for the large company that he was the president of out of Des Moines, Iowa. And ultimately that's what got me here to Phoenix.
Fascinating. So many good nuggets in there. You mentioned a few things, right? So you had this accident. You were in the medically induced coma, as you said, for 10 days. You spent about 32 days, you said, in hospital. And plus, you had to do some other therapy, I'm guessing, after that.
Yep.
And then a year later, you started a company, right? That's interesting.
It wasn't even a year later. It was a matter of months later because I got out of the hospital. It would have been actually July 6th, the day before my birthday. My birthday is July 7th, lucky 7-7, which is phenomenal.
My birthday is July 6th, believe it or not. Weird.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow. So I got out on your birthday. That is a big coincidence. I love it. So that was July. School didn't start again until August, and prior to having that accident, I worked for a car detailing company that, you know, when I went back to work for them, they tried telling me how to do the job, and I had figured out a better and more efficient way to do it. And so I didn't like that they were trying to tell me how to do something the wrong way. And so I said, okay, you know, I'll just go off and try to do this on my own. So I was grateful to have my mom work for a large company out of Des Moines, Iowa, that she could just pass my card around. And it was a really good system because I would go pick up somebody's vehicle at work, detail it, and have it back to them before they got off work. What a great thing. What a great customer service thing, right? So, and like I said, that introduced me to the president of a large third-party logistics company called Jacobs and Companies at the time, who became not only my largest client, but also my first coach and mentor, and you know, really allowed me some big opportunities.
So, I mean, we're definitely going to get to real estate, definitely, but this is definitely a real estate related question. Coaches and mentors. Yeah, that's a big buzzword in the real estate investing game. And there are some different, you know, debates going on whether you should pay for a mentor or not. Obviously, you have a paid mentor because I know that. But I don't know if your first mentor was a paid mentor or not. What are your thoughts generally on paying for mentors or not?
So I can tell you right now, at this point, I have spent hundreds of thousands of dollars on coaching mentors and mastermind groups. And the reason for that is because if you don't know something, right, you can do one of two things. You can go learn on your own, make the mistakes that you're going to make trying to learn something new, or you can bring somebody along with you that's already been there. Now, how much faster do you think you're going to get from point A to point B if somebody already has the roadmap laid out for you rather than you figuring it out on your own, right? So coaches, mentors, mastermind groups, peers, and people around me that have been there, done that, and who can provide a roadmap for me on how I get there is invaluable. I mean, it's just invaluable. You can't, in my opinion, you're a fool not to do that. I don't ever look at the cost of those opportunities, of those coaches, mentors. I don't ever look at the cost. It's the value that they get and they give, rather, that really allows you to move forward much, much faster.
So you moved to Arizona. When did real estate come into play, and why real estate in the first place? And tell us about your first deal as well. How did you find it, and how did you fund it?
So super funny. Actually, so the company that I worked for, my first mentor was Jacobs and Companies. I moved out to Phoenix when I graduated from college, which I ended up going to the University of Iowa. I got 3 degrees in 4.5 years in business communication, entrepreneurial management, and health promotion with an emphasis in nutrition from the University of Iowa. When I graduated from there, he said, I should back up too. While I was in college, every summer I would go and intern with that company and learn all the different pieces of third-party logistics, which is basically end-to-end supply chain management. So when I graduated, he said, okay, where do you want to go in the country? Well, you can go anywhere you want to go. They had offices in most every state, and they'd make a position for me, which is I'm so humbled today because there was no jobs. This was 2011 when this happened. There was no jobs anywhere. And here I had my pick of the litter in any state I wanted to go to. So went to Harrisburg, Pennsylvania, Atlanta, Georgia, Phoenix, Arizona. Phoenix was the winner out of the 3. And, here I am. So I worked
What did you like about Phoenix? Sorry, I'm just curious about the different. I've never been there yet.
Oh, man. So, okay, I'm from Iowa. Those that know anything about Iowa know that there are 4 distinct seasons in Iowa. You get the best of all 4. Well, the winters are terrible because they're long. The sun is out for only a few hours a day. It feels like it's gray. It's cold. It wasn't what I liked to do. Phoenix, on the other hand, you get 300 days of sun or more. I mean, it's just the sun is always out, and I love the sun. I've always been a big car and motorcycle guy, based on, and so when I could come to Phoenix and I could ride my motorcycle, by the way, I still ride a motorcycle today. I could ride it 300 days a year. Like, I'm sold. I'm in. So that was it.
Okay. Sorry. Yeah. Keep going. Hi. Yeah. Sorry to interrupt.
Well, I mean, Phoenix is a phenomenal place. Like every day that I'm here, I like it just a little bit more. I love it here for a lot of reasons. That's a whole nother conversation. So was working for this company for about a year. The problem was there were 7,500 employees at this company, and I knew the top dog. Actually, I didn't know the top dog. Only he was my first coach and mentor and the person that got me the position to begin with. So anytime I had a problem, I just called him. And in corporate America, especially that large of a company, that doesn't really work. So management people, my boss didn't like it that, I was just going ahead and going above everybody else. And I didn't like the pay structure. I didn't like being an employee. I mean, that just wasn't for me. I knew that I was in sales, so I had some control over my income, but it wasn't, I just didn't like being the employee. So I was dating a girl at the time that was in property management for an apartment complex. And she said, why don't you go and get your real estate license? It's this, it's sales. It's the same thing. You'll probably like it. You'll probably be really good at it. So I did that. I went to school at night and got my real estate license and, tried being a real estate agent for about a year, which, I did all right at. I did 2.2 million in sales my first year, 12 months. But I didn't make any money. I made like $48,000 that year. Because if you know anything about how real estate works, I did 2.2 million in sales. That's 2.2 million in gross volume of houses that I sold. It was 6 transactions, right? Not a lot of money, a lot of time, whatever. Hated it. So I joined the local RIA here in Phoenix, and I realized there's other opportunities to make money. Speaking of that, a guy named Dave Lindahl came and spoke at the RIA, and those multifamily investors out there know who Dave Lindahl is. And his message resonated with me. It was like, yeah, he said, if you have one house and it goes vacant, you have no money. But if you have a 100-unit apartment complex and one goes vacant, it's okay because you got economies of scale. And I was like, boom, this guy's brilliant. Where do I sign up? So I ended up borrowing $11,000 from my mom and got into his coaching program. And, about a month after I got into the program, he had a live event here in Phoenix. And he had a guy come up on stage and that had gone through his program and had some success. And so as soon as that guy got up on stage, I realized that he lived here in Phoenix. And I was like, oh my gosh, I got to know this guy, right? So I called Lindahl's office. I get his contact information, and I proceed to blow his phone up for like a month before he finally takes my call. And when he did, we just really hit it off. We went and got coffee, hit it off, and he was like, apartments are great. This was 2013, I think. Yep, like late, maybe November. So this time, 2013, okay? Market was just starting to really rebound, starting to go up. He said, apartments are great, but I have these people I know in Salt Lake City, Utah that are crushing it wholesaling houses. And of course, I'd already been an agent, so I kind of knew how the single family world went, right? And he was like, if you're open to it, I'll send you up there, go to Salt Lake City, see what they're doing, come back down here. I'll pay for the marketing. We'll do a little business. I said, sounds great. 90 grand a month. The numbers are just ringing in my head. I'm like, this guy's onto something. So that's what we did. I went up to Salt Lake City, did that for 4 days, came back down to Phoenix. My partner at the time paid for all the marketing. I went and did all the sales negotiation and getting properties under contract. Long story short, he made all the money during that time. I did all the work, and that lasted about 6 months. And then after that, it was actually June, and I remember he made $90,000 that month, and I made like $7,500, but I made it all happen.
Wow.
So, right. So I said, I'm going to go do this on my own, and that was the beginning of HPSP Holdings.
Nice. I interviewed Austin Zabak. I'm sure you know him. He's out of the Phoenix market. So I think you guys are really crushing in that market. So why don't you tell us about your first deal? Let's use that as a case study, and then we'll kind of go into mindset. So how did you find the deal? What marketing strategy did you use? How did you fund it, if any? I know you're wholesaling, but if you did, just kind of walk us through the story.
Yeah. So really, really simple. When I was with my partner, when him and I were partnering up, we did 24 deals together. I'm not going to count those because I'm just not going to count those. But what I am going to do is I'm going to tell you how I got started once I went off on my own. I knew that direct mail would work. And I knew that because of my experience with my old partner. So when I went off on my own, I also figured out that the way that credit, and this is how I funded everything to begin with. Credit cards and credit card companies are they're a savior if you're smart and know how to use them. So what I realized was that if you can apply for credit cards and they don't report it for 3 days after you apply for them. So I knew that I had good credit at the time. Great, thankfully. But if I applied for 10 credit cards at once and I got approved, then, I could call instantly and get a credit line increase. So typically I think go up like 15%, if you got good credit. And when they send you those cards in the mail, they also send you convenience checks. They can be used just like a credit card swipe. Okay. So I did that. I applied for 10, got approved, got a credit line increase. They sent me the cards in the mail. And with those convenience checks, I wrote myself a business check, or I wrote my business a check for 90% of the allowable limit that credit card would offer, because I had 12, 18, or 21 months of 0% interest, meaning that I had all of that time to use this money for free. And here I was betting on myself. So I knew that if I couldn't figure it out in 21 months, I probably was in the wrong business.
Yeah,
right?
you'll be in trouble.
In trouble, right? But I was young enough to where I was willing to take the risk. And so when I did that, all of a sudden I put $90,000 into my business checking account, and boom, now I have marketing money. So what I did was I knew that direct mail worked, and I basically pulled a list of 10,000 names, and I sent them all direct mail saying, hey, I want to buy your house for cash. People called, I went on the appointment, and I still actually have the very first dollar that I ever made.
Yeah, I love that.
Houses, right? And this is the address, and this is the title company, Chicago Title, for the property, and I made $5,400.50 my first deal. Okay?
Wow, congrats.
So now, of course, there's a lot that goes into that, right? I mean, it's not just that simple. But what is that simple is the fact that you have to take the risk and you have to believe in yourself in order to go out and do anything that you want to do, right? I bet on myself to get this business up and going. And if you can't bet on yourself, then who else is going to bet on you, right?
So you did this, kind of massive pool, 10K records, lots of averages, you got a first deal done. So you were like, wow, I can do this by myself. I wanted to go back actually on one thing that you said, right? Partnerships, right?
Yes.
What right, in terms of like who you are, your temperament, how you think, your work ethic, how would you say is the preferred way to find a good partner based on what you've known?
So I think it's your network, right? Like it's very hard. The big names that are super loud on social media probably aren't a good partner. They may be, but your network is really going to tell you who those people are. And what I mean by your network is like the local RIA, like, my partner that I originally met up with, he had social credibility because he had gone through this program, and I knew that he was that guy. He had social credibility. He was able to produce results that I was able to see. So I knew he'd be a good person to team up with. Now, I'm not saying that I love partnerships, but I like strategic partnerships. If you can both benefit, then I think it's a win-win. In my example, he brought the money to the table to pay for the marketing to begin with so that I could go get the experience. And he made the money and I made the experience. But what that did was get me further down the line to be able to go off and do this on my own, right? So when I look at partnership opportunities for anybody, I realize that you have to look at where's the benefit for everybody involved. It might be more than both, it might be more than two partners involved, but as long as everybody's winning, like, I think it's a good partnership. I don't know if that answers your question or not.
It does. Yeah, that's fine. Yeah, I like that. Yeah. So you're now kind of going into apartment syndication. A lot of questions that people who are just starting in the game, trying to figure out is, hey, I can get into the game, maybe start wholesaling, maybe start doing, some people are doing land investing, whatever way just to get in, and then they want to scale up. So for those who are maybe just starting or maybe just want to scale up into apartment syndication, for example, what are your general thoughts as to how to do it?
So if you want to move into apartment syndication, let's say you've been flipping houses. Let's use that as an example. You want to go into apartment syndication. Do a couple of things. You got to find out who's really doing deals. Like who's really out there that has done deals, has successfully completed deals, is ongoing doing deals, has not stopped doing deals to teach, because I hate those people, they drive me crazy, because it's like, okay, you're not doing deals anymore, you're going to try to tell me how to do deals? I don't think so. So who are the people out there? And we have a mutual person that is out there doing deals and is a great, phenomenal coach.
Awesome. Yeah. Joe Fellas. Shout out to Joe. So, yeah. So, what's kind of like the next thing for Scott? So you've got your wholesaling business, you're crushing it, you're in some apartment syndication, deals, you're doing pretty well. I mean, what's next for Scott?
We're looking at really wealth building, right? Like in my wholesale business, generate a lot of cash, and it's really good for the transactional opportunities out there, right? It's very transactional, but it doesn't build any wealth. I mean, we're going to make a shit ton of money this year, but it's not building wealth. And so until you buy assets that are improving in value and kick off positive cash flow, which is actually kind of my 2020 vision of more cash flow, that's really what I'm chasing, is cash flow, because it's a lifestyle play. Cash flow allows you opportunities that you wouldn't have. I mean, generating a lot of cash is great, only if it provides an opportunity for you to buy cash flow. That's my thought.
Right. Awesome. Well, I mean, I wish we can keep going, but we're definitely dwelling into the quick rounds. These are going to be quick questions. Yeah. You ready, sir? You ready?
Let's get it.
All right. First question. What makes you, Scott, unique? What is that differentiating factor that separates you from the next guy or the next girl?
I think it's pretty simple. Is I don't ever give up. I don't ever give up. If I never stop, if I never give up, then I can never be beaten.
I love that. Yeah, we share that too. Second question. I can see, you got a ton of books behind you. So I'm an avid reader as well. Yes. Yeah. What was the last book that you read, and what was the one thing that you picked up from that book?
I'm actually reading The Way of the Wolf right now. It's a sales book, but it's a good one. I'm really big on understanding more about my mind. So meditation for me is huge. I do it every day, and learning about probably the most impactful book, if we're going to talk about one, is like The Untethered Soul by Michael Singer, or The Four Agreements by Miguel Ruiz, I think is how you say his name. I don't know. If you haven't read either one of those books, I highly recommend it. They are instrumental in understanding why you think the way that you think, and they really help you get out of your own way.
Wow. Yeah, those are like, I don't think I've heard any one of those books you mentioned. So definitely I'm going to check those out. Yeah. I don't think I have. Gosh, or maybe I've seen them on Amazon. Yeah, maybe I have to check it out for sure.
Oh, man. Yeah, The Untethered Soul is a must read. The Four Agreements, a must read. I mean, those two books alone, I promise, if you read The Four Agreements first, please do. I'll send it to you.
Yeah. Okay. No, I'll check it out. I'm writing it down, and the Untethered Soul. Last question. So Scott, you're fairly young. You've got your business running. Obviously you ride your bikes. And I'm kind of answering your question for you. But what do you do for fun?
I'm really big into working out, personal development. I mean, that's every day I have my routine, and I like to spend time with my family, with my girlfriend, daughter. It's just spending time with the people I love and doing the things that I love is what I like to do for fun. And doing the things that help me keep moving forward.
Awesome. 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 So if there's somebody listening in and maybe they're in the Phoenix market or maybe we're anywhere else in the country and they're thinking, I want to get connected with Scott, know more about you, where's the best place people can reach out to learn more and get connected with you?
Definitely. So a couple of places. I also host a podcast called Invest This. Feel free to check it out. If you're listening to this, I know that you're a go-getter as well. So check that out. It's called Invest This. We're also all over all social medias, Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn, Twitter. You can find me at the Scott Bauer. It'll be all over the place, and happy to be connected. So if you want to reach out to me, please do. I'll respond to everybody and try to help where I can.
Scott, you're a legend. Thank you so much. I appreciate you. I learned a ton myself. Definitely go into Amazon right now. Check out those books. Prime it. So thank you. I appreciate you.
Well, thank you so much. I appreciate the invite here. Hope you have a great day.
You too.